All right, everybody, welcome to the wood shop. So it's a nice frosty morning. This is a couple weeks ago. It was down in the 30s. Supposed to be in the 50s today, that day, particular day. But you can see we got our thing all formed up. My neighbor, who's semi-retired, did concrete work. Agreed to help me with this, and so he got it formed up, got the wire down, all that kind of stuff. Got it all ready to go. At this point, we're waiting on the concrete truck, who's running a little bit late. But you can see he's got it all laid out, got the slope and everything, and so hopefully here comes the old concrete truck. I think it was like 8 yards or something, 7 yards or something. But anyway, he got in there, and it was so wet we couldn't. He didn't want to pull around because the yard was so wet. So he just decided that we would pull it, and you'll see that in a minute. But we just pulled it. But anyway, the guy that's in charge is the guy near the truck. He just walked by. He's got his hands on the chute. And then these other two guys are his helpers. And then there's me, trying not to get in the way. But anyway, we're just getting ready to do this. So basically what happens is he's just going to pour out a bunch, and then we'll pull it back, and then he'll pour out a bunch, and we'll pull it and get it spread out. So right now there's some debate about the amount of water that was in it. It was a little bit thick, so they added a little more water. So here it comes, and so basically just going to pour out a big puddle, and then we're just going to start pulling it. Yeah. So it was a lot of work. It was a nice cool morning, which was nice, but we did have to pull it back a good bit. And then they poured more out, and it started spilling over, which I don't know why they did that. But anyway, I'm not in charge here. I'm just helping. But you can see it spilling over there, but it stopped pretty quick. So anyway, we just spent time just pulling it back. You see how far we have to get it back. And so it was, right at 4 inches-ish thick, so we had to pull that much back. And so yeah, so that guy there with the hoodie on, he is just describing that the guy gets paid by the hour to drive the truck, so don't hurt yourself, just take your time. And then so yeah, I figured I needed to be closer to him because he knew what he was doing more than the other guy did. So anyway, we just basically just pulled it back, just took our time and got it back. It was, like I said, it was cool that morning, so the concrete was obviously not going to dry on us. And I'd like to thank Hope, my wife, for filming. She kind of got conscripted into doing this at the last minute. And but you can see we almost made it there. And then, of course, that was just the bottom layer, so we had to keep pulling. But, yeah, this was just the manual labor portion of this. And then you can see he's gonna shoot us out some more concrete there. Yeah, he poured it out pretty fast, and because we were kind of low in a lot of those spots, and so we were just trying to eyeball it. Or that guy in the green was eyeballing it, and he would tell us where it was low, where he thought it was low. And then I got to where I could kind of tell where it was low just looking at it. But you can see here, skipping ahead just a little bit, they've screeded the first section of it, and right here. I was saying we needed a pump truck instead of doing all this hard work like those guys on the internet use, and they were all laughing at me because they're like, "You're not going to pay for that." I'm like, "Well, no, not now. We're not going to pay for it, but because we're already done with this." But they were all laughing at me. But anyway, and you see here we're just kind of filling in the gaps. They're just roughing it out, and the guy in the green, man, he really knows what he's doing. He's not in charge, but he really knew what he was doing. A lot of experience, obviously, with this. And but anyway, you can just see we're just filling in the gaps, and if it's a little high, he pulls it back, and we push, and we just worked our way down. And you can see him here. He's trying to set the level. They had struck a line on that concrete block wall, and so he's just trying to get the level right, make sure we're not off because they're still pulling out concrete here. But where he was just trying to get it right against that wall. Yeah, but this is just a lot of manual labor at this point. He's just sort of trying to get it level. One thing was kind of working against us, I think, was it was so shady right here, and it did take a long, long time to dry. Basically took us all day. They were supposed to put some calcium or something in it, but it didn't wind up some sort of way. It didn't get in there. But he's sitting his end board there. You see that guy there sitting the end of the board because where they had backed the truck up there. And but anyway, they're getting ready to pour the rest of it. That's my neighbor there, the blue shirt there. And so we're just waiting on the concrete driver to wake up and start shooting it out. And so we are a little bit of an advantage on this side because he can pull forward. He can do it, and he's watching that line on the wall. It's kind of hard to see for you guys to see, but it was struck there. And so he just can. This is the easy part. Well, we had a lot easier time of it because it was going downhill, and he could pull forward too. But you can see he's just pulling it. We had a lot easier time of it there, and we're sloped down. We're making sort of a slope. Hope's putting her gloves on. Kind of had a slope right there, and we were trying to make the slope, but a little fun fact here, we ran into the concrete. They were supposed to give us a little bit extra, but for some reason it didn't. But it wound up being okay. We got it. We wound up having enough, and it worked out fine. We just pulled a little bit from one side because it was sloped anyway, and it wound up working fine. But anyway, you can see his initial float here. This guy here is doing the initial float, and it is super, super wet, and it is still very cold. That sun never really hits this slab very well, even during the day, but you can see the sun creeping in. And then skipping ahead a little bit, well, this is many, many hours later. We had waited. I think they went to lunch and came back, and they're doing their first broom pull on it, but it's still pretty wet. But this being a shed roof wasn't really that big a deal. In my opinion, the rougher the better, and that's kind of his thought too.
All right, well, they got finished with it, and they broomed it. It's still very wet, but we are still in the 50s, so it'll take a while for it to dry. But we got it all done, and they'll come back and take the forms off tomorrow. But they got it all broomed, and of course we roofed a year in there, and there it is. So maybe it'll dry tonight. It's not supposed to be in the 40s, so maybe it'll go. All right, well, that's it. So thanks for stopping by the wood shop, and take it easy.